Hey, what's up, guys? Sam here, and I'll be doing the free video for Friday, November 4th, 2022. So, yet another week is in the books, and this one was an especially wacky and wild one. You're going to see three different time frames on the screen here. This is a SPX chart. We're probably only going to focus here because the way that I'm seeing the market is it's going to be a little bit of a all or nothing type of situation where either the market goes fully green and almost every stock is green, or market goes fully red and every stock is red. And in those situations, really focusing on the indices and maybe something like VIX, dollar, and bonds is really enough. Because if you can tell me where the indices go, chances are I can tell you where about 90% of the stocks are going to go, at least in this moment in time. So what I want to do is show you a couple things here that we've been watching in the room on SPX, and then what my plan is for next week, primarily using the SPX as a proxy for the entire market. So here you're going to see three different time frames on SPX. This is the weekly, this is the daily, and this is the hourly. And and you'll notice here on the weekly chart, you're still in a downtrend, right? This is a confirmed downtrend. Everything here is telling you as such, and a pretty good downtrend, right? Even if you don't use any indicators, just look at your highs. You know, you have a high there, you have a high there. So lower highs, lower lows, that old thing. So you have a downtrend here. How about the daily chart? Well, kind of the same thing, right? You had a high there, you have a low here, you have a lower low here, and you have a lower high so far right there. The indicator here, see how the red line has been on top of the green, and both are falling. This has been a confirmed downtrend for a while. And for what it's worth, you actually do have some down arrows here. So we'll see if these play out. But the point being, you have a downtrend on the weekly, and that's confirmed. You have a downtrend on the daily, that's also confirmed. What about the hourly chart over here on the far right? What would we say this is? Is this a downtrend? Is this an uptrend? It's actually neither. So the hourly chart has actually transitioned from a downtrend, pretty strong one, to sideways. So now you're just in a range. But that's kind of important because it's very difficult to take a daily chart that's in such a severe downtrend, especially when the weekly chart is also in a severe downtrend, and reverse them without the daily chart, or excuse me, without the hourly chart being the one that does most of the driving. So if you look at the hourly chart here on SPX, focus on the red line here. I'm going to trace it in. See how the red line was climbing, 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 climbing. You hit this point, you see the little gap there where it goes up and hits the 200, and look what happens afterwards. Just a point of interest. Let's go back to the 200. I'm going to trace it in. You see how the 200 here starts hooking lower, and then you have this steep, steep drop, right? Now, it's very difficult because it's a 200. It doesn't change very quickly. It's actually very difficult to bust through a sharply falling 200 like this. It's difficult. So what you want to see is for the 200 here to go from this really kind of an extreme downward angle and modulate itself a little bit and level out, right? So that's point number one. The leveling out of the hourly 200 is point one. So let's drill in a little bit more. Once the market broke here at the 50, see how the blue line there? The 50 is what is holding up the structure. Once you get this little bow tie here, you see the bow tie there of the green and the blue, how they go negative, they cross negatively right there. That basically locks it in so that you have to then retest the 200, right? And of course, in true market 2022 fashion, it gets there immediately, right? It doesn't play around. It just literally snaps there. But what's happening now at the 200? Well, the 200 was falling before. Now it's flat. I wouldn't say it's climbing, but it is flat. And you'll note how the price is actually holding at the hourly 200. Okay? So this was just a long way of saying this is still the best chart to use, in my opinion, the hourly SPX, because it's the one neutral structure that can then have the potential to have a feedback loop into the daily and eventually into the weekly, and change the structures there, because these structures, at least as we sit, are still down. Let me give you some levels, because this is not in the bag, right? Just the fact that it held here at the 200, that's step one. Step two, it has to get over some key levels. So for the key levels, we could certainly continue using the hourly 50 on the SPX as kind of a moving wall of resistance, certainly, because in the same way that it was supportive on the way up, it will be resistance now that it's hooked lower. But let me just give you some clean levels here that I think are pretty straightforward. 38.15 on SPX is level 1. If, and the reason being is because it's two major Fibonacci's, right? You can kind of see them there. There's two different lines there. These are the 618, so the most important type of Fibonacci, and it just so happens that they overlap. And it happens that the 50-day, which is the blue line, is now overlapping as well with this level. So you have three things of importance here, and you also have this previous high right here. So I like levels like this because no matter what school you attend, whether it is the school of previous highs, well, you end up at the same level. Let's say you prefer moving averages. You end up at the same level. Let's say you attend the school of Fibonacci. You end up at the same level. So I like that. Now, you're going to say, well, that's a lot of different things all at one level. I would say I would agree with you. The level is 38.15. This is going to be a little bit of a wall there, right? Maybe a lot of bit of a wall at 38.15. But in the event that price can actually get above it, then there's actually a little bit of a 100-point pocket here. And it would be worth playing from 38.15 to the next level that I have, which is 39.15, right? Which is actually basically the high, the recent high at least. So 38.15, 39.15. If it is able to clear above 39.15, there is actually a scenario here that could see this test all the way up to about 41.80. Now, that's not going to be a conversation for next week, but just keep that level in the back of your mind and keep in mind how high this actually could go, because most folks probably would say 4,000 as the level, maybe even the daily 200 at roughly 4,100. But there is actually a significant target here at 41.80. So don't discount that quite just yet. But before we can talk about that level, we do have to get above this 38.15 level, and we also have to get above 39.15. 38.15, 39.15. So what invalidates this setup, right? Because right now it's tenuous. It is doing what it's supposed to do in a very, very sloppy way, but it is doing at least the bare minimum of what it needs to do to survive. So what would invalidate this level? What would invalidate this setup? The setup would become invalid if you have a daily close below where your hourly 200 is on SPX. So roughly the level I would say, I could just kind of ballpark it and say 3,700. That kind of captures it. I think maybe you could be a little bit more precise and say 3,720. But if you have a close below 3,720 to about 3,700, it invalidates this entire conversation that we just had, and the market would revert to its primary mode, which, as we know and have isolated, is still a downtrend. So that's the way that I'm playing it. The market is not giving away too many clues here, but it is showing us that it wants to fight at these levels. We know that if it gets above 38.15, then there is an air pocket to about 39.15, excuse me. And then from there, there's another air pocket, which we can discuss next week. All right, guys, well, that's my time. This is hopefully, we just talked about one thing today, which is SPX, but hopefully you understand kind of the dynamic that I'm looking at this with. It doesn't matter what I'm trading or what you're trading, and if you're following along. Any longs that I'm in, like I'm in Oxy and CF, and I have some LNG, and what else do I have? I think that's all I'm carrying into the weekend, and oil. If the market breaks here, I take off all my longs, and I actually will go short. As long as the market continues to hold here, I don't mind holding the longs. I would look for resistance here at 38.15. If it manages to get above that, I continue holding my longs. I look for resistance then at 39.15. If it gets above that, I continue holding my longs, and I would liquidate everything and go max short 41.80. So that's the way that I'm playing it. At any point, if this hourly 200 breaks on SPX, I would dump all my longs and go short. So that's the game plan for next week, guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Just go ahead and drop them down there. If any of this didn't make sense or if it did make sense, just let me know. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell. So yeah, that's the game plan. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you leave us a like. Drop us a comment, even if it is just what are you going to eat tonight. And I think for myself, I'm going to have some chicken parm and maybe a little bottle of wine. So look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks again for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers. Hey guys, this is Sam, and I'm the Director of Equities at Simpler Trading. I want to thank you for watching this video, and before you go somewhere else on the YouTube, I'd like to ask that you comment and like the video. It really does help us out with the algorithm and getting the message out to more folks who like to see our content. Also, be sure to click the bell notification and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything that comes out. If you want to watch us trade in real time using our own money, come over to simplertrading.com and learn how to sign up. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you for the next video. Cheers.